Greetings everyone and welcome to Wiki Talks. The talk of the day, Robotyne and the aftermath of its capture, how the Ukrainians are faring in this counter-offensive which has been ongoing since June 4th. At June 4th they started to declare it as probing attacks, while the confirmed official statement came on June 10th when they said that the counter-offensive has actually started. So initially we saw that during the probing attacks and after June 10th, Ukraine lost almost 15 to 20% of its Western equipment. There were like graveyards of tanks, of Bradleys, of Strikers, you name it. Any Western vehicle and artillery piece were completely dismantled before it even reached the first line of defense. But for now, there are some good news concerning the breakthrough at Robotyne as well as at Verbove, because initially we have seen and observed, like last 2 weeks after the fall of Robotyne, we saw that the Ukrainians have thrown in their entire strategic reserve. How does this fare in the wars in the days to come? Because strategic reserves are essentially used either for defensive measures or if a breakthrough has been achieved. But there are also reports, which we are also going to discuss, that Ukraine is going through another mass mobilization. The scraping the barrel concept has been put in motion. In fact, Mr. Zelensky himself has said that all men and women are now viable for mobilization and has actually requested Germany and Poland, where a lot of migrants from Ukraine went to Germany and Poland, to send them back so that they can be mobilized for the upcoming battles to come. We have with us the esteemed Brigadier Wakar. Sir, a lot of changes we have observed so far. How do you see things moving ahead, since now the fall season has started? It's going to be muddy. Do you think that this is just a show of strength from the Ukrainian side? Grab as much as you can and put it up as a big picture of success?
I think Ukraine is under a lot of pressure. Ukrainian military command and the political leadership, because NATO would like, as we've been talking, of course, it's a battleground or a war theater, but mostly being used as info ops theater. And they would like something to show, especially when they're talking of F-16s coming. So it has to be, because they have to justify the dollars spent for Ukraine to the American people and the European people, and there are a lot of noises. The other is, of course, the campaigning season. How much time we are left? Now, if you look at the environment and the weather, I think it's going to change very quickly. We'll start the snow, I think, in October, November. So it means that it's going to become soggy, and so window of operations for this phase of fall will be, I think, closing by end September, or maybe you can prolong it to end of October. And then you have snowfall season, and then they wait for freezing of snows, and February, March, again the campaigning season starts, and then there's a swampy time and so on. So I'm sure both sides will try to gain initiative, show it something as far as strategic gains are concerned. So Robotyne is definitely part of that. And if you look at the thrust line, Robotyne, and you advance towards Tokmak, and then you have almost three directions.
Melitopol and
Berdyansk. So strategically, I think they are focusing on that. While the Russians probably are going to do their counter move on the seam, between somewhere, closer to the Kirk's area. So this is how I think I look at it. Yes, there have been successes. There are stories that Ukrainians have made some grounds, but still, I think it is happening within the security zone.
So many losses. I mean, just in July, we heard from the Russian defense minister that almost 40,000 KIA from the Ukrainian side, not wounded but killed in action in this sphere of the theater of war. Keeping in view the flat terrain, don't you think that Ukraine could have bought in some time in order to get some air power before they initiated this grand ground assault without any preparation? They thought that they could get away with it, but so far what we have observed, even on the political sphere, there is another big update that the Ukrainian defense minister has also been changed. So How do you foresee from now, keeping in view that now things are being mobilized further, even now people who are handicapped are also being allowed in the military? So, what's the end goal over here? What do you think?
Yeah, I think this is again part of the continuation of the same process. And we did talk that when you outsource the war, when you outsource the political and military direction of war, and when you say outsource, it means basically NATO and the Western powers and Brussels and maybe sitting in Lviv or DC or Tampa, Florida, trying to control it and then giving objectives. But on the ground, the troops who are fighting are basically the Ukrainian troops. So it means that there are number of heads who are looking at the aims and objectives of this phase of war. So that is one, because maybe they are not really bothered. As you mentioned, 40,000 KIA should be a considerable loss. And in Bakhmut, people talk of 70,000.
Yeah.
And if you look at the toll overall,
previously a lot of Western media was saying that it was more than 500,000 casualties in the entire war for the Ukrainian side, and there was a huge hue and cry from the Ukrainian high command that why are you giving this casualty figure when we are already losing morale at the front?
Yeah, but that's what the reality of war is. You can hide it as an info ops. But the calculation done by even American military experts like Colonel McGregor and Scott Witter, and I take them very seriously because basically they've been even in very high positions. So they I think give the same figure, somewhere between 400,000 to 500,000. My calculation was it has already crossed 300,000 killed in action, and if there are 2 to 3 injured with every killed in action, so you're looking at almost 1 million people have been affected by war and become combat ineffective. So it means the first line of the regular officer and the troops cadre has been lost, or maybe there are survivors, and now you have mostly conscripts and recruits. Either they are too old, or we'd seen some of the videos, or they are too young. But that's how the war is in the war effort. But unfortunately, then there is of course time required for training. And you are right that they could have waited for the air power, to build up the air power, the air defense system, and then concentrate. Because it's not only concentration of tanks and infantry, definitely the entire combat potential in a particular theater or a sector. So maybe they could have gained. But again, this is an outsourced war, and this is what's going to happen.
So let's move towards the change of political leadership. How do you see this change? The previous defense minister, he was very optimistic. In fact, we had seen a lot of videos of him on different Leopard tanks, testing Western equipment. And some people even say that it was his bright idea to initiate this counteroffensive. And there was an interview on Fox News on June 25th, I think, in which he mentioned that this would be the last year of war and it would be a game changer. And after his change, I think games changed for him.
Yeah, I think Reznikov has been a flamboyant, Minister of Defense. And generally, if you look at the amount of experience he has, definitely, President Zelensky doesn't have. It's more of a show boy, or I would say the poster boy, or the poster child of the West. But Reznikov was a hardcore guy who knew his job. And if he has been removed or sacked, there were, I think, a couple of reasons. One was the corruption scandal erupting in the recruitment. And I think there were 26 large recruitment centers in Ukraine, which were then probably dismantled because they were involved into taking dollars and then letting people. Mainly the corruption is that you don't want to get into the military and don't want to be a conscript, so you pay the money or have a fake medical report that you are not able to. And maybe people with money. This is a very natural process. People with money would, somehow bypass the system when your nation is fighting. So one was that. The other was, of course, now Zelensky has to find, the whipping boy for the failure, strategic failure. NATO has to find. So there'll always be reason. Now we have now sacked, and now we have this guy from, I think he's a Crimean Tatar, Mr. Rustam Umarov.
Yeah,
he's being now brought to this position. So maybe it's a kind of morale booster, and then because Zelensky would never be blamed, NATO would never be blamed. But I think there was a very interesting remark by their foreign minister day before yesterday, where he said, I think he used a lot of abusive words that, okay, forget it, come and fight for Ukraine.
Yeah, exactly.
They're dying here. So I think this was very, very insulting to NATO. And then we have some statements from Hungarian president also, Mr. Orban. And he's been the saner voice in NATO, I think, and within the Western Bloc or the Eastern Europe, that this war is unwinnable, we are losing, and why are you basically creating this strategic dilemma? And Europe and the West has already suffered a lot, economically, de-dollarization, diplomatic isolation, despite their claims that they are trying to isolate Russia. But I think, and look at Africa, what has happened. So united voice coming against colonialism and against neocolonialism.
Things are getting tough there.
Yeah.
Another major point right now is again at the Robotyne front. This was the first marked casualty of the Challenger 2 tank. I heard they wrote an article in Forbes beforehand that they said that this tank is indestructible. It's a running sniper rifle, and today they changed that headline that yes, the British Challenger tank has been taken out. And in fact, only 14 Challenger tanks have been inducted in the Ukrainian military so far. So first loss, is it the same accord what we heard about the Leopard tanks being the game changer here?
Yeah, these are those, those silver bullets, the super weapon system. Even I think Hitler's in last days was always promising some super weapon would emerge, And this is the same strategy. And again, it is playing in the... What could 14 Challengers do it? Are they made of like... what?
I mean, they said that it's a running sniper rifle. So
Yeah. So basically it's an armor. Maybe it has job armor or it has some additional protection. But ultimately tank is a tank and it depends on who's using it. And so Challenger going knocked out. Leopard 2, I think I place it better than Challenger. So just by these acronyms, and now maybe next 6 months you get M1 Abrams or M1.
I think Americans would be sensible.
Yeah. So these are going to become war trophies for the Russians, and I'm sure they'll be...
I mean, there are videos of, T-72s just towing, strikers and Bradleys all across, and we also had witnessed the defense minister of Russia actually examining the captured equipment and complaining that these are not good. So
it's war. It's war. Things would be destroyed, things would be lost, there's nothing invincible. So this is the kind of, I think, unfortunate BS that, such and such thing. There is no super weapon system. So it's basically how do you use it, what's the tactic, what's the strategy, and what's your concentration of force. A better smart guy, better smart plan would win.
Yeah. And now let's see when things unfold. But the most crucial point I would say in this war is the use of drone technology. It has improved over time, and it somehow causes sheer panic amongst different crews when it's being observed from afar that the death is coming towards them. We see that in different Lancet videos. I just recently saw a French Caesar. The driver was just driving. It actually did avoid a Lancet strike, but on the road an accident took place and the entire vehicle just was brought down, and another Lancet came in and just knocked the leftovers over there. So how do you foresee, is this like the initiation of that World War I terror from the Mark I tank being introduced? Is it applicable in modern day as well, that drones have now replaced almost everything?
Yeah, I think every time a new system comes in, the drones are there, I think effective use was made by the Azerbaijanis against the Armenians. Still it was very crude. Now if you look at Russia-Ukraine war, it's become very, very sophisticated. Technology has improved. And then there are, I think, counter-drone technologies also coming up. But so far it's becoming, something of a nuisance, something which is really invincible. It's not a challenger. But the main thing is how do you innovate in terms of, its employment. And so there are, I think, Russians and even Iranians.
I've seen drones carrying APSDF ammunition on top of them and they just blow up tanks.
Yeah, just imagine. So it could be, because top attack for armor is very dangerous. Ultimately, I think we did discuss that you can put a lot of armor on the sides, on the front. But when it comes to top, you can't make, a turret, an 8 to 9 ton turret into 20, the 10 will become immobilized. So there has to be part to weight ratio, and it has to move. So there's a balance of mobility and protection. So this drone is striking from the top, and then it is targeting individuals, trenches, It is targeting vehicles, and if you look at Russian innovation of those small little buggy type of vehicle with that two guys, so this is the kind of innovation which is coming. So there's a lot of learning for, I think, even for us, for Pakistan and India. Chinese are watching it, and I would say this is going to grow. Now we're going to come into swarm technology, where probably there'll be thousands of drones launched to take out infantry armor in a particular sector. So people are looking at that. But maybe there's a counter which is developed through innovation, and drone finds its, let's say, limitation someday. But so far, it's become a weapon of fear, a weapon of domination. But mainly, how do you utilize it? And then, of course, C4ISR. Now, so you got to know where are the targets with the concentration of forces, and how do you control it? Because now there are countermeasures that you can probably jam, you can affect the frequency. But even the Ukrainians have had some success of striking Moscow, striking some Crimea, and now you have submarine drones.
Airport bombings,
So it's a lot of psychological impact. And I would say in info ops, this has become the major weapon.
Yeah, as I mentioned, the drones have in fact become a nuisance when it comes to warfare. And for now, we're going to be leaving you and going to update you concerning the Russo-Ukrainian war with another video. There are so many updates coming up. It's going to be compiled into a single form, just like in this format. Hope so you liked the video. Please do subscribe and leave a like and comment. But for now, bye-bye.